All right, so we are here at the prelim. And getting scores of 4.5s and 5s. Next up, Megan Finnell from Lehigh. She's going to be doing a back 1.5 somersault with 1/2 twist. Six and a halves and mostly. Good swing, good dive for her. Emma Shetter's next from American. Or sorry, Caroline LaPlante is next, Colgate, for 2.5 somersault. Or the 4.5s and a couple 5s. Emma Shetter now from American, forward 1.5 somersaults with 1 twist. Four and a halves and 4s for Emma. Fives, and a couple, and a 4.5 for Caroline. Rebecca Stiffelman from Boston University, forward 1.5 somersault in the pike position. And she gets 6s across the boards, 1 5.5. Elena Schumann from Bucknell, forward 2 somersaults pike. Five and a halves and a 6. Catherine Sayer from the Military Academy. Sevens and 1 6.5. Hannah King from Boston for 2 somersaults in the pike position. Five and a halves, 5s. Lizzie Tillow from Boston University, doing a back 1.5 somersault, 1.5 twists. And she is awarded with 6.5s, a couple 6s. Heather Yoshi from Army. I'm sorry, Lizzie Tillow, excuse me, Lizzie Tillow. Forward 2 somersaults pike. And now Heather Yoshi, a back dive pike. And awards of a few 7s and 6.5s. Margaret Garahan. Inward 1.5 somersaults in the tuck position. Fours. Casey Sherman from Holy Cross doing a reverse dive pike. Catherine Ray next on the board from Loyola. Forward 2 somersaults pike. And that completes the first round, 5.5s for Catherine. And we're back to Anna Darrow to start our second round. Back 1.5 somersaults in the pike position. And 4s, a couple 3.5s. Maya Detwiller from Lafayette. To reverse 1 somersault pike. And some 4.5s and 5s. Cameron Rouser from the Naval Academy, reverse 1.5 somersault, tuck position. Four and a halves and 4s. Fiona Caulfield, or 2.5 somersaults. Four and a halves for her. Raina Smilowitz from Lehigh. Back 1.5 somersaults with 1 1/2 twists. She gets 5.5s for her dive. Madison Keyser from Naval Academy doing a forward 2.5 somersaults in the pike position. And she gets 5.5s, a couple 6s. Tally Ford from Bucknell doing a forward 2.5 somersault in tuck position. Six and a halves and a 6 and a 7 for Tally. Paige Scholkopf from Bucknell doing a reverse 1.5 somersault in the pike position. Sorry, that was Megan Gertis doing the reverse 1.5 somersault in pike position.
Award 46.8.
Sarika Halstead from the Military Academy Forward 2.5 somersaults in the pike position.
Award 50.7.
And some 6s and 6.5s for Sarika. Megan Finnell from Lehigh, now doing a forward 2.5 somersaults in the tuck position. Is awarded with scores of 5s. 5.5 thrown in there. Caroline LaPlante, back 1.5 somersaults in the pike position. Sixes, almost across the board, a couple 6.5s for Caroline. Emma Shetter up next with a forward 2.5 somersaults in the tuck position.
Award 24.0.
4s and a couple of 3.5s. Caroline Priest, inward dive tuck. Went 5.5s and a couple of 5s for Rebecca, or sorry, Caroline. Rebecca Stilfelman next, forward 2 somersaults tuck. And Rebecca gets 5s across the board. Elena Schumann, forward 2.5 somersaults tuck.
Award 27.6.
3.5s and 4s for Elena on her dive. Catherine Sayer next, forward 2 somersaults pike.
Award 34.8.
6.5s, a couple 6s. Hannah King, the back 1.5 somersault in the pike position.
Award 34.
For Hannah, she gets 6s and 5s. Lindsay Stasuski, forward 2 somersaults pike.
Award 37.95.
5.5s and 5s for Lindsay. Next up, Lizzie Tillow, forward 2.5 somersaults tuck. Lindsay's scores,
Award
5s,
30.0.
a couple 4.5, 4.5s. Heather Yoshi, now with a forward 2 somersaults pike. And Heather
Award
gets 5.5s and 4.5s on her dive. And Margaret Garahan up next, forward 2 somersaults tuck. Margaret scores fives, 2 5.5s. Casey Sherman up next, forward 2 somersaults pike. Casey gets fives, a couple 5.5s. Our final diver of round 2, Catherine Ray, back 1.5 somersaults in the pike position. The awards for Catherine, 4s and 5s. All right, let's turn it over to our PA announcer for round 3.
Award 25.0, Maya 401B. Award 20.25, Cameron 5223D. Award 34.5, Fiona 303B. Award 39.6, Raina 203B.
All right, so next up here is Raina Smilowitz doing a back 1.5 somersault in the pike position.
Award 47.15.
7s, 6.5s. Very good score for Raina. Next up is Madison doing a back 1.5 somersault in the pike position.
Award 40.25, Tally 203C.
No scores came up for Madison, but I would think about 4s and 5s. Now we got Tally doing a back 1.5 somersault in the tuck position.
Award 36.0.
And Tally gets 6s and a couple 5.5s. Paige Scholkopf on the board next. I'm sorry, Serica. Megan Gertis is on the board. Forward 1.5 somersaults, 1 twist. Sorry about the confusion there. And Megan scores 6.5s and a 7 in there. And now we're up to Serica Halstead Doing a forward 1.5 somersault, 1 twist free.
Award 39.6.
Almost all sixes. One judge gave her a 5.5. Megan Fennell up next with an inward 1.5 somersault in the pike position.
Award 50.4.
7s and 2 6.5s for Megan. Caroline LaPlante, reverse 1.5 somersaults in the tuck position.
Award 44.5.
And Caroline gets 6.5s. All 6.5s, just 1 6 from a judge. Emma Shetter for American. Back 1.5 somersault in the pike position.
Award 28.
And it's 4s and a 4 and a couple 4.5s for Emma. Caroline Priest up next. Back 1.5 somersault. Sorry, Caroline is doing back dive straight.
Award 21.2.
4s and a few 4.5s for Caroline on her back dive straight. Rebecca Stiffelman doing reverse 1.5 somersaults, tuck position.
Award 24.0.
5s and a couple 4.5s for Rebecca. Next up, Elena Schumann, inward 1.5 somersaults in the pike position. And Elena scores on that dive. All 5s, except a 4 and a 4.5 from a couple judges. Catherine Sayer, a back 1.5 somersault in the tuck position.
Award 27.0.
4.5s, a few 4s for Catherine. Anna King up next. She's doing a reverse 1.5 somersault in the tuck position.
Award 31.5.
5s, and 1 5.5, couple of 4.5s for Hannah. Lindsay Szewski from Loyola is doing a back 1.5 somersault in the pike position. Sorry, Lindsay, I will get your name right before this competition is complete.
Award
And Lindsay gets 6s, 1 6.5, 1 5.5 on that dive. Lizzie Tillo is doing a reverse 1.5 somersault in the tuck position. Should score pretty high. 6.5s, 6s, and 1 7 from a judge. And Heather Yoshi now doing a back 1.5 somersault at the pike position.
Award.
Heather's awards are 6s,
31.4. Margaret.
1 5, and a 6.5. And Margaret Garahan now doing a back 1.5 somersaults in the tuck position.
Award. 31.0.
Margaret scores
Casey,
5.5s, a couple of 5s, some 4s. Casey Sherman now forward, 2.5 somersaults in the pike position. Wait for the scores, and
Award.
2 and a
11.7.
couple
Catherine,
1s.
303.
Not very high scoring dive for Casey. But Catherine Ray's up now. She's doing reverse 1.5 somersaults in the tuck position. And we're finishing up round 3. We'll see what Casey's scores are.
15.75.
Or Catherine's scores, excuse me. 2.5s and some 2s with 1 3 from a judge. Now Anna Darrow starting round 4 with a reverse 1.5 somersault in the pike position.
Award 32.4. Maya 202A.
Some 5s and a couple of 4s for Anna. Next up, Anna Detwiller. Back 1 somersault straight. No tucking, no piking, just staying straight.
Award 17.85.
And some
Cameron,
3.5s pretty much across the board for her. A couple of 3s. Cameron Rouser for 2 somersaults in tuck.
Award 34.1.
5s and 5.5s. Next up, Fiona Caulfield. Inward 1.5 somersault in the pike position.
Award 40.8.
5.5s, a couple 6s, and a 6.5 from a judge for Fiona. Next up is Rena Smilowitz. Reverse 1.5 somersaults in the pike position.
Award 28.8. Madison.
Some
303.
4s, almost all 4s except 1 5 from a judge. Reverse 1.5 somersaults for Madison Keyser.
Award 34.65. Tally.
Some 5s and 5.5s for Madison Keyser. And next up, Tally Ford. Reverse 1.5 somersault tuck.
Award 25.2. Megan 103B.
4s and 4.5s for Tally Ford on that back dive. Now Paige Sholkoff doing a forward 1.5 somersaults pike.
303B.
Because that was Megan Gertis. Excuse me. Serica Halstead up now. Reverse 1.5 somersaults pike.
Award 46.8.
6.5s, almost all of them, except for one judge gave her a 5.5 and another gave her a 6. Megan Finnell, back 1.5 somersaults pike.
Award 37.95.
6s, mostly 5.5s. And Caroline LaPlante doing an inward 1.5 somersault in the pike position.
Award 39.6.
And 6s, mostly 5.5s and 5s. Caroline. Next up, Emma Shetter, back 1.5 somersaults with 1/2 twist.
Award 29.4.
4.5, 5s. One judge gave her 3.5 on that dive. Caroline Priest, back 1.5 somersaults with 1/2 twist free. Oh, sorry, it's Caroline Priest doing a back, just one back dive with a 1/2 twist. A little bit different. Just one revolution.
Award 21.6. Rebecca.
4s, 4.5s. Rebecca Stiffelman, inward 1.5 somersaults in the tuck position.
Award 28.6. Elena.
4s, a couple 3 4.5s and a 5 for Rebecca's dive. We'll move on to Elena Schumann, back 1.5 somersaults in the pike position.
Award 21.85.
3s and a couple 3.5s and a 3 and a 4 for a judge for Rebecca's dive. Sorry, Elena's dive. Catherine Sayer, reverse 1.5 somersaults in the tuck position.
Award 31.5. Hannah.
And mostly 5s, with a couple 5.5s from 2 judges. Now we're on Hannah King. We're inward 1.5 somersault pike.
Award 36.0. Lindsay 303.
Mostly 5s and 4s for Hannah. And now we got Lindsay Sosevsky. Reverse 1.5 somersault in the pike position.
Award 32.4. Lizzie.
And she gets mostly some 4.5s and 5.5s. The judge gave her a 2.5 on that dive. Lizzie Tillio, inward 1.5 somersault in the pike position.
Forward 39.6.
And some fives. 5.5s mostly, and a couple sixes from judges. Heather Yoshi now with the reverse 1.5 somersault in the pike position.
Award 32.4.
She gets fives, 4.5s. Margaret Garahan up next with a reverse dive straight.
Award 27.0. Casey.
Fives, mostly fives, and a couple 4.5s for Margaret on her back dive straight. Casey Sherman up next with a back 1.5 somersault in the pike position.
Award 25.3. Catherine 403.
4.5s, 3.5s, and one judge gave her a 4 in that dive. Rounding out divers in round 4, Catherine Ray, inward 1.5 somersaults in the tuck position. And on that dive, Maya Detwiller, back 1.5 somersault with 1/2 twist.
Award 22.95.
And some 4.5s and a couple 4s, and one judge gave her 5.5 on that back dive with 1/2 twist. Cameron Rouser now inward 1.5 somersaults in the tuck position.
Award 36.3. Fiona.
6s and 5.5s for Cameron. Fiona Caulfield's up next with a back 1.5 somersault with 2 1/2 twists.
Award 29.7.
She was awarded with mostly 3.5s. One judge gave her a 5. There was a 4.5 in there as well. Raina Smilowitz, forward 2.5 somersaults in the tuck position.
Award 28.8. Madison.
4.5s and 4s. One judge gave her a 3 for Raina. And now we're up to Madison Kaiser. Inward 1.5 somersaults in the pike position.
Award 48.0. Tally 5132D.
Sevens, 6.5. There's a 7.5 in there as well. And now we're up to tally forward. Forward, 1.5 somersaults, 1 twist.
Award 39.6. Megan 105.
Sixes and a couple of 5.5s. For tally forward. Next is Megan Gertis. Got forward 2.5 somersaults, tuck.
Award 39.6.
5.5s and a couple of 6s for Megan on that die. And Serica Halstead back 1.5 somersaults in the pike position.
Award 46.0. Megan 303.
Sevens and a couple 6.5s. It brings Serica Halstead into lead over Megan Gertis. Megan reverse 1.5 somersault pike. Not Megan Gertis, Megan Fennell, excuse me.
Award 50.4.
Big die for her, sevens. One judge gave her an 8, and one judge gave her a 6.5. Those high and low scores get thrown out, so all those sevens. Caroline's inward 2 somersaults tuck. Of course, all these divers looking to get all 10s across the board. Caroline gets some 5s and 4.5s and a couple 4s. And Machetta reverse 1.5 somersaults tuck. And she gets 4s, 3.5s. One judge gives her a 3. Caroline Priest, reverse dive tuck.
Award 21.6. Rebecca 203.
And she gets 5s, 4.5s, and 4s. Next up, Rebecca Stiffelman. Back 1.5 somersault tuck. And we got 4s, 3.5s from a couple of judges, and a 2.5 from one of the judges. Elena now in her reverse 1.5 somersault tuck. Her 5th round. So obviously the less splash, the better. That's the last thing the judges see, and if they see a lot of splash, they're gonna really knock the scores down. 4s and 3.5s for Elena on round 5. And next up, Catherine Sayer, inward 1.5 somersaults. And she gets 6s and a couple, and 1 6.5 and a few 5.5s. Hannah King, back 1.5 somersaults with a half twist.
Award 35.7. Lindsay 105.
6s and mostly 5s and 5.5s. Lindsay Stasevsky, forward 2.5 somersaults tuck.
Judge center.
We're waiting for one of the judges to enter the scores, and there we have it. 5.5s and a few 5s and 1 6. Lizzie Tillo, sorry. Lizzie Tillo coming up with a back 1.5 somersault in the pike position.
Award
5.5s.
Heather 403B.
And mostly 5s for Lizzie Tillo. Heather Yoshi up next. Inward 1.5 somersault in the pike position.
Award 49.2.
And some 7s, 6.5s over the rest of the judges. Heather's dive. And next up we have Margaret Garahan doing a back 1.5 somersault with a half twist.
Award 29.4.
4.5s and 5s
Casey
for
403C.
that dive. Now we're on Casey Sherman. Inward 1.5 somersaults in the tuck position.
Award 29.7.
So 5s and a couple 4.5s for Casey on that dive. And we're finishing up round 5 now with Catherine Ray. Back 1.5 somersault with a half twist. Catherine scores to finish up round 5 with one more round remaining.
Award 22.
3.5s mostly. And we're starting round 6 with 3 divers in the 200s in terms of point totals. We got Anna here doing a 4.5 somersault with 1 twist. So just to quickly go over those 3 divers there in the 200s, we got Megan Gertis with 211, Sarika Halstead 216.45, and then Megan Fennell 215.70. Coincidentally, all 3 of them are diving one right after the other. So we'll see the top 3 divers coming up very soon. We got Maya Detwiller right now, reverse dive tuck.
Award 17.6. Cameron 50.
She gets some 3.5s and 4s. Cameron Rouser doing a back 1.5 somersaults with a half twist.
Award 27.3.
5s and 4.5s and some 4s for Cameron, to finish off her preliminary dives. Fiona Caulfield, back 1.5 somersault with a half twist. Same time. And we got, let's see how that stacks up with what Megan did, or Cameron did. 6.5s and 7s. Next up, Raina Smilowitz, inward 1.5 somersault in the tuck position.
Award 36.3.
And she's rewarded with some 5.5s and 6s. Madison Kaiser, back 1.5 somersault with 1 1/2 twists.
Award 37.95.
And that gets 6s and mostly 5.5s. One judge gave her a 5. Two judges gave her a 5. We got Tally Ford doing an inward 1.5 somersault. As you saw in the tuck position. She gets 6s and 1 6.5. And now Megan Gertis, one of our 2 divers who came into this round with over 200 points. She's doing an inward 1.5 somersault in the pike position. And she gets mostly 6s, a couple 6.5s. Serica Halstead up next. Inward 1.5 somersaults pike. Same dive. See how that stacks up. Higher scores. One judge gave her a 7. Mostly 2 judges gave her a 7, but other judges 6.5. And Megan Fennell, forward 1.5 somersaults with a twist. Higher degree of difficulty, a little bit higher degree of difficulty.
Award 45.1. Caroline.
And she gets 7.5s and 7s and 6.5s. All right, now we're up to Caroline LaPlante, forward 1.5 somersaults with a twist. She was just outside the 200-point range in that 5th round. Let's see what she gets here. 5s and 4.5s. Emma Shetter coming up with an inward 1.5 somersaults in the tuck position. And she gets mostly 6s, except one judge gives her a 5.5. Caroline Priest reversed 1 somersault in the tuck position. Caroline scores mostly 5s and 5.5s. Rebecca Stiffelman up next, back 1 somersault, excuse me, with 1 1/2 twists. Fours and 4.5s, a couple of 5s. For Rebecca to finish up her diving in prelims. Elena Schumann next, back 1 somersault with 1 1/2 twists.
Award 28.75.
4s and 4.5s, 1 3.5 for Elena on that dive. Catherine Sayer, a back 1 somersault with 1 1/2 twists. And yes, it was the exact same dive we just saw. And looks like it might score just a bit higher.
Award 39.1.
And it did, 5.5s and 6s. Hannah King, it's the same dive again. 3 dives in a row with the back 1 somersault, 1 1/2 twists. Not as high scoring as Catherine, but 6s and 5.5s. One judge gave her 4.5. Lindsay Zakuski. Lindsay, I'm going to get your name right if you make the finals, I promise. Inward 1.5 somersault tuck.
Award 35.2, Lizzie 52.23D.
5.5s and 1/6. And Lizzie Tillo, back 1 somersault with 1.5 twist. We've seen this dive 4 times now. Let's see how Lizzie scores on that one. She gets some 5s and a couple 5.5s. One judge gave her a 6. Heather Yoshi. Here we go again. Same dive. 5 dives on this round. Back 1 somersault with 1.5 twists. I think all of us are going to be able to do this dive very well, having seen it now 5 times in the past 5 minutes. Some 5s and a couple 6s for Heather on that one. And guess what? We're doing it again. Back 1 somersault, 1.5 twists for Margaret Garahan. So it's like the last time we'll see this in prelims. And she gets a couple of 6s, 1 6.5, mostly 5.5s. And Casey Sherman, forward 1 somersault with 2 twists.
Award 27.6.
And 4s. One judge gave her 5, one gave her 3.5. Our final diver, Catherine Ray, reverse dive straight. Our final dive, the scores are going to be
Award 28.8.
6s and 5s and a couple 5.5s. So those were a total of a lot of dives in there. 144 dives in there to determine the top 8 finalists for tonight's women's 1 meter diving. Definitely had 3 ladies that separated themselves. Megan Gertis, Serica Halstead, and Megan Finnell. Like the top scorer from that would be Serica Halstead with 263.25, and Finnell had 260.80, and then Gertis 254.20. Those scores will be erased for finals. They'll all start at 0, and then the top scorer from the 6 dives in the finals tonight will be the winner. Now, some of these may do the exact same 6 dives, but I